Greetings and salutations of peace through the eyes of wonder. Fear can't put dreams to sleep, brother wonder. King Narmer's palette mystery revealed, and the Rastafari in ancient Egypt. The wisdom of partly pre-dynastic Rastafarian high priest with dreadlocked hair assist the Pharaoh at Giza from George Singleton's Enlightenment publication, 2003. Now I would like to read you from a publication in the year 2007, from Cushite to Kemetan, from Cushite to Kemet, Melanin Trials, Religion versus Spirituality, Metaphysics, and Inner Ventures of Amen Rastafari. This was copyrighted in the year 2007 by Knowledge Press for Cultural Educators of Toronto, Canada. Author, Runaway Slave, Rastafari. This is a quotation from his publication. It starts, Ito Ayman I, founder of the Rastafari Mystery School in Florida, to which I am a member, teaches us much esoteric knowledge and concepts regarding the name Rastafari. He teaches us Rastafari is 4 syllables: Ra, the sun god; Star Sirius, staff of power, Genesis 49:10. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh comes. And unto him shall the gathering of the people be. Far, 3rd syllable, the abode of God, home of Anu, Nibiru, in the far away, a distance in time and space. The 4th syllable, I, a concept which is in all. These 4 syllables are in line with the 4 elements, earth, air, fire, and water, which also symbolizes Yahweh. And he goes on to say, George Oxshun Singleton, in his literature, The Esoteric Atanuology, Egyptology, and Rastafarology, Volume 1, states, Rasta rearranged spells Astra, where Ra generally means the 7 inner sun gods, chakras, and Ast is the heavens which are these gods' abode. This leads to my analogy of Rastafari. Ras is head, but in Kemet it's spelled res, R-E-S, and means to wake up, rise up, or keep awake. Ta, which relates to Patites or Twa people, since his imperial majesty was small in stature. Far, as in distance. I, relating to the first eye, i.e. the pineal gland. So we ask you to contemplate on what is said, and if you have to, go back through it and enjoy the rest of this. It will be very eye-opening. You are now in tune on the one, the force itself at this time. We call it the Holy Master Blaster Jam, and I am Ito Iman. Yes, I. This morning, I was awakened by the royal purple light. Last night, speaking with a friend concerning the Uraeus of the kings and the third eye, today, 8/8/2027, this is the wisdom I received upon the rising sun this morning, the dawn, upon the dawn, after seeing the blue light. This is a wisdom from the Lion's Gate portal 2025. 8/8/2025 can be deciphered numerologically, very mystically this year, like last year, 2024, 8/8/2024 was 8/8/8. This is very mystical. We can get, as we know, 2025 is 9. And we have 2 8s, the 8th month, the 8th day. So 8 and 8 is 16. So if we cipher it this way, 9 plus 6 plus 1, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, we get the number 16. So that 7 breaks down to 7, and 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 9 and 7 is 16, which is the B. That's one way we can do it. And the other way, it equals 27, which is the Namal in Holy Quran, the small ant-like tribe. We're not going to get into the Anunnaki. Well, this is all about Anunnaki, but in the Hopi, Anu, the small ant-like tribe, is Hopi, but ant in Hopi is Anu. So the Anu people took the small tribe, the Hopi, last time of the deluge, took them under the base of the Grand Canyon, took them into the earth, and brought them up the same way they came from in their migration, the same way the Olmec sent them from Mexico through the Sapeo, they say, a hole in the earth. But here we will decipher, we will bring you information stemming from the roots in the year 2007 and 2016. We will speak now of the cobra upon the Pharaoh's head. We will decode it, starting the bee and the serpent. The bee, Holy Quran, is Surah 16, i.e. chapter 16. The bee, guided by instinct, which is called a revelation, in its case, verse 68, gathers together sweet honey from flowers of all kind, taking what is best in them, thus producing a beverage of many hues, in which there is healing for men. So divine revelation to the Holy Prophet collected what was best in the teachings of all the prophets and presented it in Holy Quran. In other words, the Quran is the wisdom of all the prophets throughout antiquity, which is also declared a healing. 10:57. For the spiritual disease, it is a healing for the spiritual disease of men, the spiritual diseases of men. Now, note the red crown of Lower Egypt. The red crown of Lower Egypt is symbol of the bee. Notice the extended bee stinger. The double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt is also known as the Sphinxite crown. It was also known as Sekhmet, which meant the two powerful ones. It was a combination of the red crown of Lower Egypt and the white crown of Upper Egypt. Sometimes you may find two animal symbols attached to the front of this crown. These are a cobra representing the goddess Warjet of Lower Egypt and a vulture representing the goddess Nekhbet of Upper Egypt. Together they were known as the two ladies. Now, from my research in October 12, 2016, which was Yom Kippur, it came to me from the Hall of Records, and it has been verified through my research that the red crown and the white crown is a symbol of healing, the union of the inner spiritual force, the union of the lower with the higher, as in meditation. Note that meditation and medicine has the same root word, medi, as meditation was the first medicine. One sits still with straight spine, concentrating on the brow chakra or third eye, pineal gland. The subtle or pent up or serpent energies travel up the spine through the six lower chakras, reaching the focal point. This serpent path is also represented by the river Nile, which along its upward path are placed temples representing these chakras. So we see the King Narmer uniting Lower Egypt with Upper Egypt. To me, an allegory of inner spiritual work and healing. The red crown, symbol of the honeybee, representing the life force, medicine of healing, ojas, or sperm. And the white crown, Upper Egypt, the pineal gland, and serpent affront the king's crown is also symbol of this, is depicted in the union of the two crowns. This is the mystery of the Narmer's palette revealed. You are now in tune on the one, the force itself of this time. We call the Holy Master Blaster Jamin. I am Ital Iman. The ancient Egyptians believed that the river Nile represented the backbone of the human body. The temples were placed to correspond with the major chakras existing along this backbone. To best explain this, we begin to the south. Aswan, a major city along the Nile, is considered the root chakra. The main god of Aswan is Kurum, and Ram, the ram-headed god, the god of creation, who sits on a potter's wheel and forms or makes individuals out of clay. When visiting Aswan, many people experience what we might call a new birth. The Nile is of the bee. It is the life force. The ancient Egyptians believed that the river Nile represented the backbone of the human body. The temples were placed to correspond with the major chakras existing along this backbone. And as we have said, to best explain this, we begin to the south. 1. Aswan, a major city along the Nile, is considered the root chakra. The main god of Aswan is Kunum, the ram-headed god, the god of creation, who sits on the potter's wheel and forms and makes individuals out of clay. And we can also see this depicted in the Sumerian glyphs and in the Sumerian texts. And you will find here in this discourse, in the pictures, the bas relief. And then, number 2, the temple of the 7 chakras along the river Nile. Temple 2 of Kamamba at the navel chakra. After the navel, we move to Luxor, or Thebes, as it was called. This is the solar plexus chakra. Luxor temple represents and speaks of times that are similar to those in which we live today. We can see in the tombs that people were partying and drinking. Even homosexuality is represented. You are now in 2. We see the temple's residents living in big palaces and being more into the carnal life than the spiritual world. We see they had the luxuries of life. They were wealthy and they had everything, but were far away from God. Number 4, next is the temple of Amun. Tela Amar Na is the heart chakra, because his anger of the debauchery of the current religion, this king also changed his name from Amenhotep to Imhotep IV to Akhenaten, which means the beneficiary of Aten. He also removed all mentions of the god Amun from the temples and sanctuaries. In antiquity, the sun had 3 names. Early in the morning, it was called Keper or Keeper, which is represented by the scarab. In the middle of the day, when it was at its strongest form, the sun was called Re or Ra. At sunset, when the sun was setting and gentle, it was called Aten. So Aten was one of the forms of the sun god. Akhenaten believed in the concept of one God and the law of one. So he took the name from the gods formed at sunset. The sun, in its gentle form, some people say that when Akhenaten swore on the steles that he would never leave this place, he was the first one to start the concept of monastic life. You are now in two. He was more concentrated on the pineal gland. All right, fifth chakra, from Tel El Amarna, we go to Saqqara, which is at the throat chakra. Here, in the complex of King Zosar, you can stand on one side of the complex and whisper, and the person over 40 feet away will be able to hear you as though you were standing quite near. We have the same thing going on in Central America. Number 6, around the year 2900 BC, Imhotep was the high priest and architect and physician whom the people worshipped as the god himself. Even when the Greeks and the Romans came to Egypt more than 2,000 years later, they still referred to Imhotep as the god of Medicine. Imhotep built the step pyramid for his master King Zoser. According to archaeologists, the stepped pyramid was the first pyramid built in Egypt and the first project made completely out of limestone. Pyramids at Egypt. If we move a little north, we arrive at Giza, or the brow chakra. That Giza pyramids are considered to be the center of the world. You are now in two. And the ancient Egyptians talked about a hidden record in the area of the Sphinx, i.e. the holy cat. Now, number 7, the crown chakra is said to be the hall of records, but could very well be a physical place, as some believe, under the lion's paw. It is my belief that the crown chakra is within the king's chamber. I can relay a incident where I was doing my first lecture at the Paul Robeson Theater in Atlanta, Georgia in the early 1980s, and I was playing, and I was preparing to go there, and I was in meditation. I was listening to the music by Burning Spear, We Are Going, on the red, gold, and green train, oh yes, we are going. And as I was getting up out of my meditation, I saw myself rising from the sarcophagus in the king's chamber. You are now in tune on the one, the force itself. This time we call it the Holy Master Blaster Jamming. So we will see here that the Uraeus, the ancient symbol that represents the cobra and the animal, represents the goddess Wajet of royalty. Now, me and my brother was talking about that last night, and I was telling him that it wasn't clear that that's what it meant. So here I plan to bring it out clearer. He said that some brother was doing some research and found that when they took the mask off, they saw the dot on his head, and that the Uraeus meant the third eye, but that's not really made clear. There's like multiple levels of meaning to it. So the Uraeus is an ancient symbol that represents the cobra. The animal representation of the goddess Wadjet of royalty is basically what it means. The symbol is the embodiment of sovereignty, royalty, and divine authority. Now that's the surface meaning. The ancient Egyptians believed that the Uranus symbol can provide magical powers and protection according to the myth of the cobra. that was given to the pharaohs from the god Geb of the earth as a sign of kingship. The uraeus was used as an ornament for sanctuary. Now, just the uraeus is not the true symbol of the third eye. So in Egypt, there are symbols that represents the third eye. We will see them here. So when the brother, my good brother Palmer, showed it to me and said it was a third eye, and I said, that's not the Egyptian symbol of the third eye. That's the esoteric symbol, but there's a plain symbol that shows that what the third eye is, and we will present that here. Okay, so the uraeus was used as an ornament for sanctuary. So you see, sanctuary means to go inside. So you see how it's clouded in mystery. So it was found on the top of his crown. So the top of the crown is not the third eye spot. It was found on the top of the crown. And as an adornment on the pharaoh, plus for jewelry and in amulets. It was also used in hieroglyphs, which represents a shrine or a building. Note, Uranus is an ancient Egyptian symbol of royalty, the sun, sovereignty, protection, divinity, and authority. It describes the legitimacy of the pharaoh and declares him the great, i.e., declares him the great of magic. It is a royal symbol that has been featured with many gods across the ages. It was referred to as the eye of the moon, eye of Hathor, the eye of Horus, and the eye of Ra. Plus it was shown with many pharaohs such as King Tutankhamun. So we see it was clouded in much mystery, but there's a plainer symbol that reveals the pineal gland. The exotic vulture symbol of Upper Egypt was seen as an insignia for royal protection provided by the goddess Nekhbet. It had been seen appearing next to the uraeus on the headdress of the kings, plus seen clutching a shin by his claws, thus representing eternal protection. Note, the vulture symbol is an enchanting symbol of divine protection from one of the oldest ancient Egyptian gods in the history of kingship. So, Wadjet and Nekhbet are known as the two ladies. Ancient Egypt, Nibjet, a religious epithet signifying their importance as patron deities of the ancient Egypt. Wadjet often depicts as an Egyptian cobra, was patron goddess of Lower Egypt, significantly associated with the city of Dep or Buto and the papyrus plant. Her name, Green One, also referred to the verdant Nile Delta region she inhabited. She was considered a fierce protector, often shown as the Uranus, a rearing cobra. So we see these two symbols represents the two halves of the brain. And within the seat of the brain is the pineal gland. Okay, so they represent the uraeus, a red cobra on the pharaoh's crown, symbolizing her role in defending the king by spitting fire. Wadjet was also linked to the eye of Ra and eye of Horus, powerful protective symbols. Nekhbet, on the other hand, was a patron deity of Upper Egypt, was represented by as a griffon vulture. Her primary cult center was in Nekhbet, modern-day El Kab. She was often depicted with outstretched wings hovering protectively over the pharaoh and carrying the Shin ring, symbolizing eternity. Nekhbet was also seen as a mythological mother of the king. So, upon the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt, as we have found depicts the Nile, and it's the two centers of the brain, also depicts the rising of the Kundalini, as we saw in the first part of this video. And if we ask you to meditate on the pictures here in this video, which will make it more clear. These two goddesses were retained due to the significance of their dual individual roles and became known collectively as the two ladies, Lower Egypt and Upper Egypt, the protectors of the newly uniformed land, i.e. the newly unified land. Their image were combined on the uraeus of the pharaoh's crown, symbolizing the ruler's domain over both parts of Egypt. This pairing was so fundamental that one of the pharaoh's 5 royal names was Nebeti, name literally meaning two ladies, which began with the hieroglyph of a vulture and a cobra, each resting in a basket. This name emphasized the pharaoh's control and the establishment, i.e. and the established laws across the two lands, while Wadjet was often seen as aggressive and Nekhbet as a more matronly protector. Both were considered powerful and essential for the well-being and the stability of Egypt. Lower Egypt is in the north and contains the Nile Delta, while Upper Egypt contains areas to the south. These two designations may seem counterintuitive to their physical location, but they reflect the flow of the river Nile from south to north. The most common symbol were crowns. Hedjet, white crown, represented Upper Egypt, while Deshret, red crown, Lower Egypt. Uraeus and cobra symbolized Lower Egypt, while a vulture represented Upper Egypt. You are now in tune. On the one, the force itself of this time, we call it the Holy Master Blaster Jamming. I am Etal Iman, and you are now in tune. We ask you to study this discourse very carefully and very attentively. This is the Wisdom 8/8/2025 from the Lion's Gate portal. Yes, I